Good evening, everyone. My name is Steve Fulton. I'm a chair of the Niagara Peninsula branch, and I just want to welcome you to Friday night's webinar with Janice Nickerson. We've got a lot of people signed up tonight, over 200 people, which is absolutely fantastic. And I want to welcome you and thank you for coming out on a Friday night. And I've just got a couple announcements because, you're not here to listen to me, but I want to just share these with you. Tonight we've got Janice speaking, and then we have a special webinar on April 26th with newspapers.com, and that's a Jenny Ashcraft. She works for newspapers.com, so you can check out our website or our Facebook page, and you can find out more details there. As well, tomorrow, for those who are local in the Niagara region, the Lincoln Pelham Public Library is having a special opening of their memory lab and an open house. So between 2 and 4, the branch will be there, and other genealogical organizations will be at the library, and you can check it out, what they're doing there. I would encourage you to go to heritageniagara.ca, where the branch hosts a website for all heritage groups in the Niagara region, and we post all the different events. So if you like to know what's going on in the Niagara region, go to heritageniagara.ca. I think I said .com, it's .ca. So check that out. It's a great thing. So one final thing that I want to share with you, and just recently, Roots Tech 2024 has come and gone. And one of the things that happened this year, we as a branch won 25 MyHeritage DNA kits. And that's fantastic. So what we want to do is give them away. So I'm just not going to give them away to just anyone. We've got to put a couple questions in place. So if you know how to do the chat in Zoom, I asked 2 questions. One, who's got the closest birthday to today? And please remember, we're genealogists. We can figure it out. So let's share. You can send a personal message to me, who's got the closest birthday to today, or who is the farthest away from the Niagara region. So you got to tell me how far away you are. And those 2 people who have the birthday closest to today, or who is furthest away, will win those MyHeritage DNA kits. And we have a Stony Plain in Alberta. Hey, there we go. The messages are starting to come in. If you want a MyHeritage kit, you know how to get it done. So send me a message. So with no further waiting, I want to hand the mic over to Janice Nickerson. I didn't get much of a bio at all, but I've known Janice for quite a few years. An awesome speaker, very knowledgeable, and it will be an awesome webinar. So Janice, it's yours. I'll let you take it over.
Thank you so much, Steve. Okay, welcome everyone. It's nice to see such a great crowd. I am going to share my screen. Now this looks a little different from usual, so let's hope this works. Trying to move my bar. The bar at the top of my screen will not move out of the way so that I can advance my screen, my presentation.
There we go. We're seeing the presentation, but it's the working section, not the viewers.
Indeed. I'm just trying to get the bar out of the way so that it will behave.
All right.
There we go. Now are you seeing it?
We are still seeing the editing part. Are you running a double screen?
Yep. Okay. I'm going to have to stop and try a different.
You'll have to just switch your views.
Okay, let's try it again. Let's see if this is the right one.
Yep, we got it. You're good to go.
We're advancing now?
Yep.
Okay. Thanks, everyone, for your patience on that. I will say welcome again to everyone. And thank you for coming to hear about what you can find on university websites for genealogists. You can see here on the cover page the 15 universities that we are going to focus on tonight. There are wonderful resources for genealogists in many other universities and on the websites of many other universities, but these are my favorites at the moment. You should be receiving a handout that will include information about some of the other Canadian universities and some of their content and some of the content that I wasn't able to cover in this presentation because you can't cover everything. So make sure you get that handout. And just a quick tip for when you are looking for the kind of content that you can see online. See, that's what we're focusing on here is digital content, not everything in university archives, because that's a whole other thing. If you go in person, you can get access to a whole lot more records. But what can you find on their websites? Generally speaking, the best keywords to use are digital collections or digital archives. That's your best bet for finding within the website what it is you're looking for. So let's start right away. I'm just going through here alphabetically, in case you're wondering how I chose the order. We'll start with Acadia University. Okay, so the digital collections found at the Acadia University archives start here. They are listed alphabetically, as you can see. This is just the very beginning of it. And there are lots and lots of wonderful things on this website. And if you'll see here in the top right list, the Acadia record is one of them. And I'll show that to you in just a moment. But if we scroll down, we see other things here, like the African United Baptist Association collection. Okay, so the Acadia record. This is, as it says in the description, a biographical record of Acadia graduates, going all the way back to 1838 and culminating in 1953. As you can see on the left-hand side there, I have included one page there showing they're listed by year of graduation and then alphabetically, or well, maybe not. They're supposed to be alphabetically, but Johnston. Sharp is before Johnston for some reason. At any rate, so you can see there some of the wonderful information that you can learn about graduates from Acadia University. Also, in the photograph collection, you can see that there are these lovely class portraits from each graduating year. And it actually, not even the graduating years, this is the freshman class that we're seeing here. So if anyone in your family attended Acadia University, you're going to want to check those out. This is a close-up of some of the things in the African Baptist Association collection. They have annual minutes. Most religious denominations have these kinds of publications, and if you can find digital versions of the minutes, you'll be surprised at what's in them. Sorry, I didn't focus in more on that because we got a lot to cover. They also have this handwritten genealogy of the Rand family in the collection of Silas Tertius Rand. So you never know what you're going to find. Let's move on to McGill Libraries, McGill University's library collection. All sorts of stuff at McGill. And keep in mind that when you go to these sites, they often provide you with multiple ways of searching through their collections. So in alphabetical order by keyword, you can see here, but you can also go in different ways. You can look at the collection guides. The digital collection data is another way you can see here on the left-hand side. It's a bit sterile looking and awkward to learn how to search, but it does have a lot more search capacity once you learn to do it. So let's take a look and see, when you choose digital collections, at some of the list here. We have a collection on the industrial architecture of Montreal. We have In Search of Your Canadian Past, the Canadian County Atlas Project. If you are in Ontario, if you have Ontario ancestors in the 19th century and you haven't seen that, you got to see that. I'm going to show you how to use that. Lots of other architecture things. We've got chapbook collections. We've got corporate reports. I'll take you let you take a quick peek at that. We've got photo collections. We've got early maps of Canada. We've got war posters, and of course McGill yearbooks. I'm not going to show you in every university archive website. You are going to find yearbooks and other information, other kinds of records that pertain to people who attended that university. You can expect to find that in any university archive. So I'm not going to show that to you each time we go through, but try to focus on some of the more specialized, unique databases. So this is what the first page of the In Search of Your Canadian Past Canadian County Atlas Digital Project looks like. Okay. And if you click on search, you can search by people or by maps. So if you want to see what a county or township map looks like, you can go there. If you want to search for an ancestor and you're not quite sure where they were, you can choose people. Okay, so here is the people search. You can do as I did and just put in a surname and see what happens. And this is what you get. An alphabetized list of everyone who appears on one of the illustrated county atlases. And these were done in the late 1870s mostly. A few in the early 1880s. They were done county by county, and they almost all include the names of people who owned all of the rural properties. They also often included directories of people who subscribed, so you can get additional information about those folks. So when you see here on the left, these Go links, if you click on those, you get more details about each entry. So we see that Mrs. B. Morrow, that's one reason to search only by surname and not put something in the first name, because who knows what B represents, and it certainly isn't Mrs. Morrow's first name, it's her husband's first name. This tells us that she owned property in King South in the county of York. It tells you the date of the atlas, just so you know what the reference is, and it gives you the description of the property. She is on concession 7, lot 1, with 30 acres. And now you can click on the link there and locate that property on a map. Okay, so this is what the whole map looks like, with a little inset showing you where that property is, and then this is the highlighted inset to give you an idea. Okay, and all through this map are the names of the owners of the various people on those properties. So if you haven't used these for your 19th century Ontario ancestors, I assure you they will be useful. Okay, so what else can you find on the McGill site? You can find this list of corporate reports for all sorts of early Canadian companies. So if your ancestor worked for any kind of company that was operating in Canada in the early years, have a look. You never know. They also, corporate reports often have the lists of shareholders and whatnot in those reports. So if your ancestor had pretty much any money to spare, take a look and see where they might have been investing their money. Okay, another very large collection in McGill's library digital collection is their fur trade collection. They have been working on this for a very long time. They updated the way you get into this, and as you may have learned recently from Family Search and other places, the technology to search handwritten documents by using artificial intelligence has been growing in leaps and bounds. They have applied that to this collection. So you can search their handwritten documents. And I did that, as you can see up here in search terms here. I just put in the name Vincent. I have an ancestor with the surname Vincent who worked in the fur trade. I put that in, and there were 58 items that came up on searching that. I haven't gone through every one of them. I don't think any of them actually pertain to my ancestor Thomas Vincent. A lot of them are for people with first name Vincent, but this one, as you can see, is for Pierre Vincent. And I love the way it's highlighted here. You can actually see it, where is in some other databases it's tricky to find the highlighted bit, but in this case it's really, really clear. Okay, so what else is in the fur trade collections? Some of them are private collections that were donated by descendants of particular people. So James McGill was a big figure in the fur trade. Of course, that's why McGill University is so interested in the fur trade. Joseph Frobisher, John MacDonald, etc. But there are others that, even if you don't know the name of the person, you can imagine how they might be useful to you. This is a collection of voyageur contracts. The Northwest Company collection has some documents in relation to, as it says, the Northwest Company, which was the rival company to the Hudson's Bay Company. All sorts of other great stuff if you're interested in the fur trade. Okay, so now we are going to continue on, take a look at what we can find at Memorial University in Newfoundland and Labrador. Their collection, this is their gateway. This is just by scrolling down, browse by collections. As you can see, there's a collection of limited run Newfoundland and Labrador newspapers. There's a collection of news clippings. There are annual reports and other kinds of annual publications. But periodicals and all sorts of other things. We're going to take a look at this archives digitized collections and see what happens when we do that. And this is what we come up with. There's lots more in here, but just by looking at this list, you can imagine some of the exciting things that you might find on this website. I'm going to give you a quick peek at one of them, the Charles Sidney Frost collection. Charles Sidney Frost collected, it made himself a scrapbook with photographs of people who served in the Royal Newfoundland Regiment in the First World War. And as you can see here, if you had anyone serving in that, that would be quite a find. And those are all digitized. Okay, what else have they got? They have a collection on the Chinese community in Newfoundland. Lots of photographs, lots of clippings from newspapers, arrivals and people arriving and leaving, business records, all sorts of things. Okay, so and this is their a different portal that focuses specifically on newspapers. So that again, you get this collection of limited run ones, but you also get each of the larger newspapers in Newfoundland. And you can click on each one and you can browse or you can search them. That's one of the things that the themes that you're going to see is these digitized newspapers. Unfortunately, in Canada, we do not have a really good centralized database for digitized newspapers, but we do have lots and lots of small projects spread out across the country, hosted by public libraries or university libraries. So when you're looking for digitized newspapers, don't stop at public libraries. Also look at the university libraries. Okay. They also host the Maritime History Archive. So if you have anyone who worked on a ship, they have a whole database of crew agreements, which you can search. And if you do that, I searched for the surname Power, which is a common name in Newfoundland. And then it takes you right into the actual documents. I heard something there quickly. Did somebody have a question, or was that just a mistake? All right, we'll continue. Queen's University. Queen's University Archives actually has a section called genealogy. That's rare. Okay, so what do you find in the genealogy? Did somebody have a question, or do you want to mute? There we go. Okay. They have a category called genealogical resources. They also have a collection called the Dr. H.C. Burleigh Fund and family genealogies and files that have been donated. And the Dr. H.C. Burleigh Fund are an amazing resource, especially for people with United Empire Loyalist ancestors, especially in the eastern end of the province. Dr. Burleigh collected information about early Loyalists, and they are huge, huge, huge paper collection. And it's all been digitized, and you can search by name. They also, in their university records collection, have something that's fairly unique, and that is the student registers. So you can find information about virtually every student at who attended Queen's up to 1906. And here's an example of what they look like. Isn't that the most beautiful thing? If you had an ancestor who attended Queen's College. All right, so what can we find at Simon Fraser University in their digitalized collections? Well,
British Columbia. I don't think they'll be necessary. We shouldn't say that actually.
I apologize to Janice. I'm trying to. Everybody's supposed to be muted. Can we make sure that everyone is muted, please? They shouldn't have the ability to unmute themselves, but someone. I apologize to interrupt you.
That's okay. All right.
Everyone's muted. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks. So Simon Fraser University, yes, has a special collection of newspapers we're going to take a look at. They also have a whole bunch of audio files of oral histories. They have a special focus on activism and social movement and documents related to that. And of course, they do have collections that are focused particularly on British Columbia and the immigrant experience. The immigrant experience takes you to a bunch of smaller collections, and some of them you can see here. The Multicultural Photograph Collection from Vancouver Public Library is hosted here, a Doukhobor collection, the Indo-Canadian Oral History collection down here, all kinds of really fascinating stuff. In their newspapers collection, they have particularly newspapers that are published in languages other than English and for immigrant communities of various kinds. Trent University Archives, to come back to Ontario. There's some really neat stuff here. This one is called Digital Resources, so you do have to, be a little bit flexible in your search terms. They have digitized some diaries, they have letters, they have court records, they have oral history, and they have some records from the city of Peterborough. So as you can see at the beginning of this page here, some details about some of the diaries that they have in their collection. Here's a few more. If you had anyone, the Trent University is located in Peterborough. It collected materials mostly related to Peterborough, Victoria County, and Northumberland and Durham County. So if you had anyone in your family living in those regions, you might want to take a look and see if they have a diary for the time period in which your ancestors were there. Even if it wasn't your own ancestor or your ancestor wasn't mentioned in that diary, it will give you a sense of what life was like in that area. Having said that they focus on Peterborough and Northumberland and Durham, I now see that one of the diaries is someone who lived near Barrie instead, which is not in that zone, but it's not too far away. And they have someone who worked at East Main Factory in Hudson's Bay, which is definitely not in that catchment area. So you never know what you're going to find in some of these university archives. This is an example of one of the diaries, and as you can see, they have transcribed it so that you can read it comfortably, in addition to seeing what the original diary looked like. So that's exciting, because reading some of those old diaries can be a little on the challenging side. This is the United Counties of Northumberland and Durham Fall, and in it, as you can see, there's township business, convictions, indictment and case records, coroner's inquests, and a calendar of prisoners from the Coburg jail. And I'm just going to show you what happens when you go in these. It's a little, the interface is kind of ugly, as you can see, but if you get into the inquests section and click on the file, you can see here they have transcribed details from each of the inquests, and you can search it and see if any member of your family had a coroner's inquest. And then, of course, if you find someone in these, do make sure you look at the actual record. And this is a transcription from the early jail calendar, excerpting excerpting the basic details. This particular page is starts in 18. It says it starts in 1846. Oh yes, the date of committal is when they arrived in the jail, but the calendar, this is a snapshot like a census for January of 1846. All the people that were in the jail at that particular time. Okay. On to the University of Alberta. University of Alberta hosts something called Peel's Prairie Provinces. This is something that, as it says here on the page, it's going to be migrated to the Internet Archive platform soon. So it's in flux, as just about everything on the internet is. If you haven't used the Internet Archive, what are you doing? There's so much amazing stuff at the Internet Archive. And you will find when you go to other university websites and other public library websites, lots of smaller organizations use Internet Archive to host their collections, and they'll have links back and forth to the Internet Archive, or you can go directly through the Internet Archive, whatever works best for you. But as you can see, they've got, for featured collections, they have Henderson's directories for the Prairie Provinces, which is great. They have a photograph collection. Of course, they have newspapers as well. So here's what the newspaper page looks like. And you can filter by province or by city or town. You can search the titles, and you can browse the individual newspapers. Moving on to the University of British Columbia. Their collection is called Open Collections, not digital collections, just to be confusing, but they are talking about digital objects, as you can see. You can search right from that opening page, or you can browse through to see particular collections. So we've got historical newspapers, we've got photograph collections, we've got their thesis and dissertation collection, historical books, and fully digitized first 100 theses. The thesis and dissertation database just takes you to a list of titles and information. You don't actually get to see the thesis and dissertation itself, but you can for the first 100. This is one of the ways into their newspaper collection. So you can actually go on the map, which I find a really unique and excellent way of finding things. If you don't know the geography of the place that you're looking for, you can click on each of these little markers and see what's close by in order to determine what's available in the newspaper collection. In another set here, if you're just browsing collections alphabetically, I also wanted to show you one fun little collection is the Royal Fisk Gold Rush letters. They've been collecting original letters from anyone, anywhere, who has them, where there's anything to do with the gold rush. So if that's of a particular interest to you historically, or if you have anyone that you think participated in the gold rush, you might find reading some of these letters really fun. All right, what do we find at the University of Calgary? They've got a whole collection focused on the Calgary Stampede, as you can see. You've got postcards. There are lots of postcards in these collections. They have a specific collection for school teachers in teaching Indigenous history. They've got the Louis Riel collection, of course. They have a huge collection of local histories. They have a collection on parlor games. Okay, so here, this is from their local history collection. You can search, you can narrow it down by location. As you can see, they're not all actually even from Alberta. And this is what their newspaper collection looks like. Moving on, actually, no, sorry, this is still hosted by the University of British Columbia is what I've got this under, but it's actually kind of shared by a few different organizations. This particular database is rather generically named. It's called the Digital Archives Database Project, which it strikes me as a missed opportunity because, of course, everything we've been talking about is digital archives, and many of them include databases. But what they don't tell you in the title is that this is specifically focused on Métis people and Hudson's Bay Company records. So you can narrow it by each of these categories, or you can search the entire collection. So if you click on the Métis registry, you get this drop-down menu where you can narrow it by any of these categories, or you can just search the whole thing by names. Okay, what do we find at the University of Manitoba libraries? This one is their general collections by alphabetical. And then if we focus in on their newspaper search, we get, see, all the different newspaper databases, they're all organized differently. They all have different ways of searching, and you got to learn each one separately. It really would be lovely if there was something a little bit more centralized, but that's just a pet peeve. You can search inside these newspapers, which is lovely. These are local histories in their collection, focused on different topics. Or sorry, these are under Manitoba. These are this collection is focused generally on prairie history. This collection is specifically local histories. They call it Manitobia. It's specifically to Manitoba local histories. Moving on to the University of Prince Edward Island. Their website is called Island Archives, but then they also have other ones along the same theme: Island Lives, Island Magazine, Island Voices, Island Imagined, Island Narratives, Island Newspapers, Island Scholar. So this is what the Island Archives looks like. Island Lives, these are community histories that you can search inside, and newspapers. The University of Toronto libraries. University of Toronto has some quite unique collections, and this one is the Canadian Necrology database. It was built quite some time ago. It goes up to 1977, has obituaries culled from, as it says, newspapers like the Globe and Mail, the Toronto Star, Gazette, Mail and Empire. You can find them now through things like newspapers.com, but not all of these are included with them. There's also this thing, William Henry Pearson's, the nickname Pearson's Pronouncements, which is a really neat thing, covering the period 1869 to 1944. This man, he kept his own private record of people who had died in Toronto mostly, but also people he thought were interesting that he heard about who had died, and it includes comments about them. So that's kind of different. They also have other collections, as you can see, specific focus on Korean language newspapers. University of Victoria, what have we got in University of Victoria? We have sound recordings, video recordings, historical maps, diaries, photographs. They have a particular collection of interest to genealogists of the fire insurance plans here, and something particular interest to me, those of you who know me know that I'm interested in crime and punishment, the Victoria Police Department charge and mugshot books. And they have a separate webpage devoted specifically to the Victoria Times Columnist newspaper, digitized up to 1980. Excellent, excellent database with access. Okay, University of Windsor, we are coming to the end here. At the University of Windsor, they host something called the Southwestern Ontario Digital Archive. And this is a huge archive, as you can see, not just for Windsor. It includes, as they say, Chatham-Kent, Sarnia-Lambton County, particularly. So you've got this is where you'll find lots of directories, high school yearbooks, which is fun, college yearbooks. If you know anyone who attended high school or university in that region, these would be fun. And finally, I think this is the last one. Yes, Vancouver Island University. Again, they have newspapers, but they also have other particular collections, and they host the Canadian Letters and Images Project related to World War I and World War II and Korea. They have made it their mission to collect letters and diaries and photographs and anything that people will donate to them about the experience of Canadians overseas, and home front, during the wars. So if you have ancestors, as we almost all do, who participated in World War I, II, or Korea, you can learn more about their personal experiences. Okay, so that I got through that a little quicker than I expected to, because I was worried that I wouldn't get through it. So now that we have reached the end, I will be happy to take your questions, and I do want to remind you to make sure that you get a copy of the handout so that you can see all of the other stuff that I didn't have time to fit into this particular presentation.
No problem. And thank you very much, Janice. That was very informative. And again, it just reminds us and how much is actually online at the universities. It's just a plethora of information. So we've got a couple questions that's come up here. I've just been getting them here. Let me see. Where's the one? Are the King's College land records online? University of Toronto.
To the best of my knowledge, no.
All right.
Not that I'm aware of, but things do change very quickly in these times. So one can never be sure what might have happened yesterday, but to the best of my knowledge, no.
Yes, and we always try to remind people, if you haven't been to a website in 30 or 60 days, you need to get back there. Things can change so rapidly. Let me see here. The County Atlas at McGill. Is there any way to browse through the county records? And number two,
you can browse through the through the maps, absolutely, and there's a lovely magnifying feature that allows you to focus, really in tightly. They're really great for figuring out when you have an address, a lot and concession number, or something more complicated in some of the counties that are not strict with a perfect grid. If you want to see where a particular person's property is, even if their names are not on the map because they didn't live there at that particular time, it gives you a great way of seeing where they are in context within the township, within the county, that sort of thing. They did not digitize the entire atlas. So they've extracted information from the directories, but they didn't digitize the directory itself. They also didn't digitize the historical section at the beginning of those atlases, and those are also valuable. So it doesn't completely replace looking at the atlases themselves.
Right, right. Let me see here. My chat's going crazy, so it's bouncing all over the place. Do any of these libraries have the Niagara Region Farmers Almanac in their digital collections? That's a great question. I wonder if the Internet Archives would have that.
I would check Canadiana.org would be
Yeah,
my first guess of somewhere that where it might be, but yeah, with some there are so many possible places that you might find it, and things keep changing on. There's a collection of small newspapers digitized by Google when they quit doing that and they don't promote it anymore, but it's still there in the archive. There are even some small newspapers on the Toronto Public Library's website. It's hard to know
okay.
where exactly that one would be off the top of my
So
head.
I've got another one here from Debbie. Does the Laurentian University have any archives or records online?
I didn't double check it for this presentation. As of 2.5 years ago, when I did the first version of this, they did not. But I would not be surprised if that had changed in the meantime. So certainly,
Yeah,
everything that I'm talking about now and everything in the handout is still true, likely, but there may be a good deal more by the time you look. So
right.
if you
Yeah,
know of a university anywhere near, or that specializes in a topic that is of interest to you, as I recall, is it McMaster or Guelph has a big Scottish collection? Forgotten off the top of my head, but that sort of thing. When you find out that a particular university has a focus on a particular topic, then that's
okay.
you might want to look there just even when it's not for their region. McMaster has a rural diary project that I didn't include here, and they're talking. It's not specific to southwestern Ontario. It's rural. It's not even just rural Ontario. I think it's rural Canada.
Right, right. A couple here. Let me just see. Actually, somebody's got a question. What is a fond?
Oh, that's archive speak. Sorry. Um, it's basically it's an archive term for collection. Um, Specifically that it's a group of records that all came from one source. Okay, so it's going to be named after whoever originally collected it, whether that's an individual or whether that's an organization. So there could be the Janice Nickerson Fall if I were to donate a bunch of things from my attic to an archive. They would call it the Janice Nickerson Fall. Okay, but you may also find the Timothy Eaton Company Fall, or you might find the city of Peterborough Fall. All of those things, what it means is it's referring to who created it. They in archives they like to keep things together by whoever created it, rather than by the specific topic within. I hope that
Perfect.
helps.
We've got the just going back to the McGill County Atlas names, and these are the people's names, are included in Tony, the Ontario Name Index,
Oh,
on the OGS website. And just to add to that, the names that pertain to Lincoln and Welling counties for the Niagara region are listed on the Niagara site in our master index.
so there's a whole bunch of ways to get in.
Yes, very much so. we were able to reach out to do that. What other question? What university would be best to search for Lower Canada information? Brockville, Leeds, etc.
Okay, Lower Canada refers to what is now Quebec. So Leeds County and Brockville would not be Lower Canada, but they're closer to Lower Canada, close to the border. They are in, originally they were in Johnston District. There is what you, Brockville University might be worth taking a peek at. What else is in that area? There's a Leeds and Grenville Museum as well there, I think. It has great stuff. There's quite a number of organizations. There's also a historical society there that has lots of great information. Because it's that's one of the places that was settled, very early in Upper Canadian history. It there's a lot of resources for that area, but specifically
Okay.
universities, I guess Brockville University would be somewhere to look.
Okay. Here's
Kingston might have some too. Queen's University.
okay. Another question for you. Where are the Timothy Eaton bonds located? Do you know?
Archives of Ontario has a big
Okay.
Big Eaton's collection.
All right.
They have
Good.
a huge collection of the old catalogs.
Right. Yeah, I remember last time I was up there, I seen them all.
They also have films of the parades, the Santa Claus parades. All kinds of neat stuff.
Okay. I have one. I'm just going to read it here. Are you aware of any source other than the singular file at the Buffalo History Museum Library that might have a specific record of the release of a young girl from the Ingleside home after her 3-month sentence was completed in 1902?
Okay, so this is someone who was incarcerated in what was the Ingleside home? Was that
Yeah, I
was
don't
that
have any
a
more information than that. Sorry.
whether that is an orphanage or whether that is or um a children's home or a juvenile delinquent what did they call there's a lot of different possible
Right.
categories. Those kinds of records are generally available at the Archives of Ontario. Institution records, for the most part, if they survive, are often at the Archives of Ontario. Not all of them, but that's where I would look first.
Okay. Okay. I would also suggest, because we are a border town, we have great contacts in the Buffalo, Niagara Falls, New York area. If you would like to reach out to the Niagara branch, reach out to our research team. They may have some avenues that you can go down as well. So,
It's always good to get local focused expertise.
yes, boots on the ground is always a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a good thing. There is a question here, which I might be able to answer for you. Would Todd Morin or Don Mills be in York or Niagara Archives? So there are no
Oh,
Niagara Archives.
Todd Morton is
Yeah,
York. Yeah.
yeah. It would be in York. There is no Niagara Archives. I wish we were all centralized, but we're not. We're very fragmented in our area. I think that is it. The questions have stopped.
Okay.
But people will probably have many, many more. We've got lots of people saying, excellent presentation. They'll watch it again. If you are a member, this is available in the members only. And just before any of you leave,
We got prizes.
we got prizes. We got we got 2 My Heritage, and I'll tell you, I had to get out Google Maps because I wasn't sure, because we have 2 folks from California,
Ooh.
and then we had 1 person from British Columbia, and geography. I'm not bad for geography, but I couldn't quite figure out which. So Google Maps has actually determined that Margaret Sharon from Surrey, British Columbia, is about 200 kilometers further than the 2 people in California. So, Margaret, we will be reaching out to you. And
Congratulations.
yeah, congratulations. And then we have a Kathleen who was born April 25th. So she was the closest one to today's date. So we will reach out to you as well. Congratulations to you both. Please come to our newsletters, newspapers.com. And we are looking for local stories. The speaker is looking for examples that they can look up for you. So bring suggestions, bring local stories, send us an email early so they have some time to prep for it. And, come to that webinar because there just might be a couple more DNA kits that we want to hand out again. So thanks all. Thanks, Janice. This has been a great night and a great learning opportunity. And we thank you all for taking a Friday out to join us. So have a great night, Al. Thanks.